Just went to Universal Studios here in Japan, and this is everything I would do and wouldn't do. This ride we smashed at is the Flying Dinosaur, and I cannot recommend this enough, but it is a really intense ride, so make sure you get this over and done with before you eat or drink anything. I don't know why we thought it would be a good idea to do Jurassic Park in the middle of winter in the freezing cold, but this was right before we were soaked. I think everyone buying ponchos was a clear sign, but we were absolutely soaked. The whole group got wet. Definitely don't recommend doing this in the winter because it is seriously so cold and you're going to be out all day long at freezing like we were. No, I really recommend doing the single riders line for a few of the rides. We did it for Jurassic Park and another ride coming up, but both times we were seated really close to each other, so highly recommend for skipping the queue. If you visit during the cool seasons, you have to go to Baskin Robbins and try their hot chocolate. I was so blown away. This is the best thing I had all day. Probably the biggest honest recommendation, you do not need to get the fast pass if you're going to be going during the cool seasons like winter. Obviously didn't know this, but the park was dead quiet and a lot of the regular lines were moving really fast. Really random recommendation, but one of our friends wanted to go to the Waterworld show and I wasn't really sure about it until we watched it, and I highly recommend. I'm not going to spoil it. It was so good. You should definitely watch it. Decided to do the single riders line again for Jaws, and we actually miraculously all ended up sitting next to each other, so that was so lucky. While I did mention to skip out on the fast pass if you're going during the middle of winter, I do think it kind of saved us on this particular day because it actually started bucketing. Could not believe the people lining up in the freezing cold rain. I think that really helped us, and vice versa. I think if it was the middle of summer, you should definitely splurge out and get the fast pass to avoid lining up for hours in the sun. We specifically went for the nighttime entry for our Nintendo World time slot. I personally think is a must because all the colors are lit up and so much brighter, and the whole park just looks so much cooler here at nighttime. We'll also leave a really detailed caption on everything I booked and how to book it, so make sure you check that out as well, and hope you have fun.